Hi, and welcome back to Pushbox Banter. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Craig. And today we're going to talk about the São Paulo Grand Prix.
Yeah, the São Paulo Brazilian Grand Prix.
Yes. Got some cool stuff.
Yeah,
Do you have some fun facts about
we've got a lot of facts about São Paulo. So it's been around since 1972. Alonso clinched his first championship in 2005.
Yeah?
Yep, he clinched it. Youngest champ ever back in the day.
Really?
We have some famous Brazilian winners: Emerson Fittipaldi, Nelson Piquet, Felipe Massa, and Ayrton Senna.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So lots of good stuff. The last winner we had was Max Verstappen, which I know we're used to that. And then before then, it was both the Mercedes, Russell and Hamilton. Cool.
Yeah.
So some fun facts for you, Craig.
Okay, good. I like fun facts.
All right. So do you know what the nickname for this city is?
I do
Or
not.
like what its motto is?
No, I don't.
It's the city of drizzle.
The city of Jerusalem. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I don't know. It just
This weekend, it seems very appropriate.
It's because it basically has its own weather system. It's so unpredictable that at any moment it'll literally just start to drizzle.
Wow.
So, and yeah, if there's anything to be said about this weekend, is that it made this motto indeed like correct. It is a city of drizzle.
Yeah.
Did you know that it has the largest number of Japanese people outside of Asia?
No, I had no idea on
So
that.
the biggest population of Japanese people is
Really?
in Sao Paulo,
Why is that?
because Sao Paulo has the only sumo gym in all of the world outside of Japan.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's pretty
I don't
cool.
know. I don't know that that's the reason why there's so many Japanese people.
You just made that up?
No, it's
that's
actually
okay.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually has the only sumo gym outside of Japan.
That's pretty cool. Because I knew there were a lot of, was thinking for whatever reason, I may be way off here, but I was thinking that there are a lot of Japanese people in Peru. So,
I mean,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, no, Peru.
There's a lot more to Sao Paulo than I know.
Yeah. There's also, did you know this? A really huge Italian population.
No.
Yeah. And out of the 1.6 million pizzas that are eaten in all of Brazil, 1 million of them are eaten specifically in Sao Paulo.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you know that Sao Paulo is the biggest city in all of Brazil?
I would have guessed Rio.
It's actually not.
Yeah. So it surpassed Rio.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
And it is, do you know why it's named?
No.
Well,
I do not.
Not Sao Paulo, but the neighborhood in Sao Paulo where this race is held. It's called
Interlagos.
Interlagos. Do you know what that means or what it stands for?
Well, I mean, from looking at it, I would think it has something to do with water and something being connected with water.
Yeah.
But
or like
I'm not
in
sure.
between or something, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually in between two water reservoirs, or I guess you call them like small lakes or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the Guarapiringa. I'm sure I said that 100% right.
Yes,
And-
it's much better than
and the
probably how I
Billings.
would have pronounced it. Yes.
So yeah, there you have it.
Guara what?
Yeah, it's Guarapiringa.
Guaraparanga. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the other?
I'm sure there's piranhas in there.
Nice. You think?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
I think you're
I
stereotyping
watched too many.
their water sources.
I watched too many river monsters.
Yeah,
not
right.
not to know that. Okay, cool.
That's cool.
But yeah, so really cool circuit, lots of elevation, and it's a short circuit, 70 laps, and it's honestly one of my favorite in the calendar because it's super quick. There's two good straights and then a bunch of turns that you really have to have a really balanced car, and it's also very unpredictable because of the weather.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I remember last year, I think in one of the qualifyings, there was some huge dark cloud that was coming in.
Yep.
It was it looked like the apocalypse, like how you would imagine something like just insane about to happen.
Yeah.
But I think it rained during qualifying, but didn't during the race. So I was wondering, like, okay, what's it going to look like this year? Because they're talking about all the rain and everything. You've got like going into the race, they redid the whole surface. So it was the first race to actually run on this. Like a lot of them, whenever they redo the surfaces, they have all the other races, or they have the F2, or they have like
Academy
some other,
or whatever,
or plenty of other races leading up that happened earlier in the year. So this was the very first one. So the tarmac was like, as dark as this microphone here.
Yeah,
pretty sweet. But also, that means it's probably not going to be super, not high traction.
Yeah,
as well.
Probably slippery.
Yeah, and then you've got the rain added in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All that, like all the stuff that holds and binds that asphalt together is kind of coming up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the beginning, it seemed to have been, it seemed like it was going to be a really nice weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just shifted.
Yeah. So you've got a sprint weekend, you get the qualification or the qualifying for sprint, and the weather's way better during that time. Quali goes pretty good. But, and then when you get into the race, and we've got front row lockout with McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Verstappen and Leclerc right behind them. So I don't know. It was a pretty good race.
Are we talking about the sprint race?
Sprint race.
Yeah, the sprint race. Yeah.
Sprint race.
So the sprint race was pretty. It was pretty exciting. It was nice.
Yeah.
I think the big takeaway of the sprint race was Norris and his. I don't know what you want to call it, but
papaya rules.
Yeah, his absolute need to win.
Yeah.
And, the sacrificing of Piastri and his excellent quality and his excellent race just to give it to, the whiner on the street, the squeaky wheel, I guess. And it makes sense. It makes sense. He's the closest to beat Max in the Drivers' Championship. And they're doing everything they can to help him. And, Piastri's kind of okay with it. And
it's kind of weird. Piastri, it's his first, I think it was his first pole position in a sprint race. And of course, off the line, Norris, as he normally does, isn't very quick off the line. And so Piastri, pulls out in front of him and takes the lead. And at some point, they call him in their rules or whatever they had planned to try to give Norris the most points.
Yeah.
And, hey, that's kind of how that goes.
But,
but throughout the race, like Verstappen was able to move back into third. I think there was a penalty, something happened, wasn't it? I don't remember if he ended up in third at the end, but needless to say, McLaren came in 1-2, so they got the most points.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Yeah. Verstappen did end up in third, and he was fighting with Leclerc for some of the race, the sprint race, and then was able to get through them. You had Norris, Piastri, Verstappen, the two Ferraris, which were very quiet throughout the whole weekend, pretty much.
Yeah, they were.
And then you throw a little sprinkle of Alpine in there, a little foreshadowing, I guess you could say, for what was to come. But and then Perez in eighth. And that kind of summed up all the points. It was all right. And we were expecting to have then a qualifying, but we come to see that, know.
So guys, we come, like, Daniel and I are watching this together, and we're watching it like we had put off a little bit, and we're watching it not real time. And we get through with the sprint race, and then we're like, all right, let's go to quali. And we look, and all of a sudden on the F1 channel, there's no quali listed, at all. Yeah. And I'm like, what's going on here? And so we look, and it's like, torrential rain and all this stuff going on. So it is. There was no way that they could really race and have it safe at all for the qualification. So,
it's wild.
They kept pushing it off like every 15 minutes, and then whenever 5 o'clock hit local time in Brazil, they called it. Yeah. So
and that was like the first time since like 2019, I think, that both quali and the race happen on a Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's only happened like 6 times.
Yeah, not
before.
a
Like,
whole.
It's really rare for it to happen that way.
I was really.
And then they moved it. It's like super early in the morning for quality this morning.
Yes.
So it was like 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
When they had it.
Yeah.
So that means that those guys are getting up, like the mechanics and everything are getting up like at 4:30 in the morning and getting ready,
getting the cars
all the
ready,
stuff. And then they have like a limited amount of time in between quali and the race to actually, if they're gonna,
I kind of like it.
I did too, because it makes it to where these guys have to react.
It's
And
high stakes.
They have to.
too.
Yeah, it's high stakes.
Yeah.
It's like they know what they got to do. They don't have to overthink it. They can go with what they feel.
Yeah.
And see how it goes. But
What was really interesting is that they didn't have any set rule for what if it kept raining, which it did.
yeah.
And they couldn't, do the quali. What would happen? How would they take on and do the race without a proper quali? Would they use a quali from the sprint race? Would they use the classification from the final of the sprint race? Like, what would they use?
Yeah. Would they use like just however
The driver
far they got in
standings,
quality?
what do you
They
use?
They even talked about like if it was practice 1 and using like whatever
Yeah.
order was in that. I was like, oh my gosh, that would be, to me, that would be an awful decision if you'd made it that in a way.
Well,
but,
it's a good thing it didn't have to happen,
Yeah.
but apparently it came up enough that they're like, oh, this isn't actually in the regs. Like, we don't have anything written down for this. So, like, let's get it fixed for next year.
yeah.
And that's pretty cool that they acknowledge
I think
that.
there were a few other things that happened in the race that they might have to discuss for next year or for possible future.
Are we
races
talking
as
about
well.
the main race or the sprint?
The main race?
Huh.
The main race, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Things that happened right before even the technical start of the race, right?
Yes. So, yeah. Well, I guess we should get
Yeah.
into quali
Yeah.
first.
Sure,
and then go into that.
Yeah.
So, Sunday morning qualification. There's still rain going on, so they're kind of iffy on the start times and everything.
Yeah.
They get going, and there's a lot of drama that goes in. Like at the very first qualifying session, Norris is on the bubble, like almost getting knocked out, and some of that is just the evolution of the track, getting the water, getting the driving lines, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So there was that going on. Then there were tons and tons of yellow flags and red flags going on. So
Yellows
I
and
think there were
reds.
5 in total in all of qualification.
In all of quali, there's 5. And it started with Calopinto.
Yes.
Which was a
in the first
terrible
session.
hit.
Yeah.
Going into turn 1, right? He just kind of it was weird. He was going straight and then his rear kind of took off and he just did like a couple spins and then hit the wall kind of sideways.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they got that car fixed at all, but
yeah, so it was early. So that was the first one, and he was able to get it fixed for the race. So that was, and he actually had a pretty good quali. Like he was at the time, like he was like 6th, 9th, somewhere in there. Like he had a good lap time that was on. So, but yeah,
and we know that before even the quali and the race, we know that there's some stuff going on with Calopinto. That we had Christian Horner visiting the Williams suite.
Yeah. No, but
see-
I mean, Christian Horner, he was just going to see because they heard that they had a new coffee sponsor.
Oh, yes.
And so he wanted to taste the coffee and see how it was.
That makes sense.
That's I mean,
So-
that's all that was about.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we know Calopinto's hot and everybody's kind of looking for his
actually-
signature.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So, are they looking for his, a possible him driving for Red Bull or for RB, or are they looking even to try to get Signs to come over? Which would be even crazier to come over to RB.
Yeah, that would be
I don't think
interesting.
Happen, but somebody mentioned that, thought it was interesting, but yeah,
Yeah, it's weird.
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
We don't know what will happen. We'll know that for sure there's going to be changes happening.
One of the cool things about F1 though is all of these conversations that go on behind the scenes that they may not be some realistic opportunity, but they go ahead and have the conversation just in case.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
if something in the future happens and kind of shifts some things around, they'll have the conversation because you never know when you need a good cup of coffee.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, that sponsor definitely makes that car look a little bit prettier than before.
Yes,
Yeah,
that yellow on the car. It's nice too because it like stands out. You can pick it out easy in a crowd. I like it. And like they have the numbers on the back in dark blue, and then the contrast with the yellow. It's easy to tell like which car it is.
Yeah. The livery is a lot better for sure.
Yes.
But you're right. Norris was almost out with a couple seconds left, like a minute left, but he managed to
survive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So then you go into Q2.
So Q2 happens, and then we have yet another red flag.
Well,
or do we have,
two
more?
Two red flags.
Yeah, two red flags.
Sainz and Stroll.
Sainz's car was beat up. It was a slow crash, but the same thing, kind of turned around and hit like all of the car, basically.
It was like all of like
like the half of the front
alert here. Yeah. All of the shunts that we're going to talk about were basically the same type of thing, spinning out and losing control.
Yeah, spinning out, taking out like the one of the front tires and like the whole rear wheel, the wing, if not the whole rear end. But yeah, basically the same sort of issue with Sainz. And his looked pretty bad, but I think it wasn't as bad as it looked.
Yeah.
Because obviously he was able to make it through to the race. So
yeah.
Stroll.
He was fortunate there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Q2, like you've got those two things happening, but then the other big thing that happened in there because of those and because of the timing of them,
because of Stroll.
Yeah. Because of Stroll.
It's always Stroll.
I know.
He always messes something up.
Everyone's favorite.
You know what? I'm surprised because he's fairly good in the rain.
He's not
almost always. I want to say like the only place he's good at is driving in the rain. And this week, let's not say this week, this Sunday was horrendous for him.
Yeah,
in the rain, like complete catastrophe. Broke down. But anyway, he crashed, and his crash led to a red flag with obviously not enough time to restart. So Verstappen, Perez, all of Red Bull looked like it was going to be a bad day for them.
Yeah, so they don't make it out of Q2.
Yeah.
Both Verstappen and Perez.
Yeah.
And so you've got Verstappen, I think he placed 12th, but he had a 5-place grid penalty for taking what is a gearbox or engine, I forget which
engine
one.
part.
Engine part. So so he's ultimately going to start 17th. 17th.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, the championship stuff is about to heat up. We're about to get Norris is about to put on the show here.
Yeah.
Because he makes it through. Norris, actually in Q2, he does really well. He's looking, like the standard, what you've grown to expect Norris to look like on a qualifying Sunday or Saturday. But so we go into Q3, and we've got even more amazing things happen because both Red Bulls are out. It kind of shifts things around.
Yeah.
Some extra people make it into Q3
Yeah.
that normally aren't there.
Yeah.
So instead of RB being there, you've got V-Carb there.
Yeah, V-Carb.
Both cars.
Yeah. And some Aston. There's another Aston.
Both Astons make it into... Well, no, Stroll doesn't, but...
Well, Alonso, Alonso makes it, and he crashes.
Yes.
Red flag number 4.
Yes.
So Alonso goes out, and then we have another big one with Albon.
Yeah.
And Albon's was pretty terrible. Like, he was struggling.
Well, Albon, so he had a great time, too. He was like second. At the time, after his first push lap.
Yeah.
And then, like, when he's going on a second, then, man, he wrecks, and it is not looking good. Like he looked pretty shaken up, like just from
even
from
when
the accident,
his voice,
because he hit
like,
the wall.
Did my brakes fail or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, he spoke fine, but he just he did kind of have like little shaky, like he sounded like
shaky.
Yeah, like really startled from it.
Well, his car was totally mangled. So
yeah.
And,
so he was in a special place.
In a very special place. So we had
not getting to race.
So it was bad enough that we didn't see him race, which is kind of a shame. I don't think we'd seen that in a bit where a driver just can't, like, the car is not there for them.
Yeah, but
the last time was like Williams, right?
Yeah.
With Sergeant, where they took his car.
That's
Remember?
right. They had to give it up. Give it up.
Now it was Alban's turn.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
he didn't get the car this time, so Calapinto gets to drive. But
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause, I mean, just too short of a turnaround time in between.
yeah.
I think if it was something where the qualifying was on a Saturday and then the race on Sunday, he probably would have been able to get his car back.
Yeah.
But that was the other thing. Stroll actually, I think we said this wrong earlier, but Stroll actually, like, he had the red flag, but he was able to come back, I think. Or either maybe he already had a time, actually had a good enough time because he ended up starting in not like, in a better position. His time was high enough for him to get into Q3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. So we get to the race.
Well, Norris picks up pole.
Yeah.
So it's Norris, Russell, Yuki.
That's
Yuki
right.
out of nowhere, and then behind
The
them,
announcer
it
was about to go nuts because
yeah.
he thought Yuki was about to get pole.
So the V Carps were up there, Russell and Norris. So then we get to the race,
Yes.
and it's drama before it even starts.
Yes.
And we kind of touched on this a little bit, right? But
yeah, so it's wet. Like everybody's starting on intermediates, and so there's a little bit of rain coming down, but they're forecasting. They're like, hey, forecast is about 20 minutes after the start. Yeah, it's supposed to start raining pretty heavy, or heavier.
Yeah,
and so there's thought, well, okay, some things are going to shift around. So the very first formation lap gets going.
Formation lap.
Just the formation lap. And who gets some extra camera time but our buddy Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll.
Yeah. Yeah. Spins out just randomly. Like, I don't know what happened with the car.
I think he just
all of a sudden he spins out, hits the wall. Hits the wall.
He kind of like
it's the formation lap.
Yeah.
So he doesn't hit the wall. He actually just stops because he's actually on some asphalt. But he decides that instead of like turning the car around or backing up or whatever and staying on the asphalt, he decides it's going to be a good idea to drive across the gravel pit. And so he accelerates into the gravel pit and
gets beached.
Yes, gets beached. Like he has gravel all the way up to his front wing. Like
I bet he was like, son of a beach.
Oh, I guarantee. Yes, I guarantee that's what he said. But yes, so I'm sure he was pretty embarrassed. That's got to be one of the most embarrassing things I think that a driver could have happen on a formation lap.
I think it was, the fact that it was 2 times.
Yeah,
like,
if you guys have something else that would be more embarrassing, you can comment. Yeah,
it was both the spin, like kind of going off, and then like on your way back in,
going to the gravel.
What a dummy! Oh my gosh.
So they've got to come over and lift him out. Do they lift it? Yeah,
they have to get him out.
They lifted him out, and so in doing that, like all the cars come back to the starting grid and they stop, and so then there's yellow lights.
Yeah, there's flashing yellows. Start aborted or
aborted start.
Aborted
sign.
start. Yeah. Correct.
So then what happens?
And it says aborted stop, and Norris takes off.
Yes.
On another formation lap,
which isn't the correct thing to do.
And it's funny because you have him going, and then Russell, Lawson, Yuki, they all follow.
Yeah.
And then there's some people that are like, wait, what's going on?
Right.
Confusion's happening.
Some people don't go because they're like, they shouldn't be going.
They shouldn't be going.
They should be staying still.
I think it was like Bottas, Verstappen.
Yeah. I think even Calapinto, he stayed still.
And somebody was like parked up in the wrong grid spot too.
Yeah, somebody was in the wrong grid spot because like I remember Calapinto came up and he stopped. And then he pulled up forward into the spot in front of him because it was empty, and it was like spot 14, and he was supposed to be spot 15, so he was like on the wrong side.
Yeah, Yeah.
So it was just like somebody was way out.
Yeah. So not only that, you have them going, and then everybody's like, wait, what just happened? Like, what's going on? Verstappen had his car off because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to turn the car off.
Because you're supposed to turn your car off. Everybody turns their car off, and then it's basically like all their crew comes back out and they tend to the car.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you get
get the blankets out. And
yeah,
the whole deal.
the cars aren't made to sit there and be idle. And same thing, like you've got Sainz who's starting in pit lane, and he's just sitting there going, "Well, what do I do?"
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they all have to take a lap at that point so they can all restart in the correct grid.
Yeah, that's right.
So Norris goes under investigation. I think Sonoda and
they all, like the first
all
five,
the first five go under investigation pretty much. But then after a little bit, they come back and say, "Hey, we're not going to complete the investigation until after the race,"
which is really lame.
It is
because they
really
have
lame.
the whole race to figure it out.
They do have the whole race to figure it out, but I think why they said that is because I don't think they have that option or that possibility in the regs. I don't think that's ever happened before.
It's just never happened. It's unprecedented.
Unprecedented times that we're living in Formula One. And so,
everything is happening. Chaos.
It's so unprecedented. I mean, Stroll, formation lap issues. So, I mean, we've had all sorts of stuff going on today, all sorts of flags that happened today. And that's just before the race has even started.
That's before the green lights go off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
first lap.
Yes. So they finally get back into formation.
Yeah.
Then they have all their crew come out, tend to their cars. So all of this time's going by, and you remember at the very beginning they were saying, "Hey, 20 minutes into the race is going to be rain." So by the time that they're starting, it's starting to rain. So so they get going and everything, and it's wet out there on the track at this point.
Pretty wet. Yeah.
Yes.
They
do start. Norris.
They all take off.
Norris does what Norris does best on his starts. He allows the other person to pass him.
Loses his pole
really
position right away.
He's really good at it.
As soon as possible, he gives up P1 for P2 because that's where he's most comfortable.
Yeah, he probably is going to write some book one day about how to still win when you. I don't know. He's got to have some book that's going to come out about.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be like.
When you think, I don't know, but yes,
have
so
that P2
Russell,
mindset. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, some weird thing. I was hoping a good thought was going to come to mind, and it didn't.
It didn't. It's
sorry,
okay. It's
sorry, guys. But so Russell immediately passes very first turn.
Yeah.
And then at that point, like it's on.
Yeah, it's on
for Russell.
And
then you've got, because it's raining, because it's so wet, everybody's pretty much like, there's a bunch of chaos right at first and some jockeying for position, some people coming back and forth. Like I think Lawson gets really close and then he backs out.
He loses a ton of
he loses a bunch of spots.
6, I think.
Yeah,
right away.
Leclerc's moving up. And then
Verstappen takes this outside line.
Verstappen
just he took the fast lane.
He takes the fast lane
like you're at Disneyland or something.
Yeah,
and
it's
just
like he had
went
a fast
skipped.
pass.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he skipped everything and got to I don't know.
Within two
no, seriously, within 2 corners, he was already up 7 spots, I think.
Yeah, so he started in 17th.
17th,
excuse me, because of all the penalty and the qualification issues. But he starts in 17th. By lap 2, he's into 10th place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then he's not through.
No.
We've got, it's like potential masterclass time at this time. And I like cheering for Max right now. So I'm going crazy.
So tell us what I mean, was that
like what you were talking about? Like he's passing on the outside when nobody's even trying to go around people in front of him on the outside, and he's just driving by him. Like he's literally, it goes back to the beginning of the year how he was in another league, and that's how he was driving today. Like the car, whenever it's wet, they've got a ton of downforce on the car. Yeah. But all the cars are geared up that way too. But it's just like nobody could stop him. It was like he was not going to be denied today. And it was really fun to watch, at least I thought, because in wet conditions and tough conditions, a lot of times you get to really see who the really good drivers are. And they're going to come out and shine, but way more so than the others. And that's what we got to see today with Max Verstappen on that very first lap and taking all those positions up. And then he just keeps moving up and up and up. And he gets to 6th.
It was almost like he was
quick.
playing a video game. Like
It
he was doing
was.
his
It was like that.
esports or
Yeah.
something, because he literally took a line nobody else did
Mm-hmm.
and just kept going and was just picking him off.
Mm-hmm.
Like driver by driver by driver by driver.
Yeah.
Where did that pace come from?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Amazing. And yeah, like you said, masterclass, because it like you were saying earlier, before this, we were talking about how like it kind of shows you who is just like on another level,
Yeah.
and who's like who are the greats, and we're watching a great in progress,
Mm-hmm.
and you know who knows how much longer he'll be in the sport, and he's already showed us some greatness, but regardless of all the outside things and his like personality wise, he's just a killer.
Yeah.
And today had an undeniable drive for sure.
Yeah. So he's up at the top. And then you've got, you think he's in what, sixth position, something like that. So he's behind a few people, but he's got, Russell and Norris are still up at the front. They're getting around what, 20-ish laps, getting closer to 30. And they're thinking, hey, we got to pit. The road, the track is getting dry.
Mm-hmm.
So they start thinking about that. They got to get new tires. We got to get new tires, or at least that's what their crew is telling them. And so there's a little bit of, I think the drivers are thinking maybe we should stay out longer, maybe we should go in, and kind of going back and forth on it. But they follow the team orders. Both Russell and Norris pit, and then within a few laps, it starts raining again. Much harder, and so. A ton of people come in and pit at that point. I think Perez actually puts on wet tires.
Yep.
And Verstappen stays out, and he's at that point he's behind Ocon, and they're in first and second at this point.
Yeah.
And so they stay out, and they just keep driving on those intermediates.
Yeah.
And keep going. And so there's a couple of
It just got really rainy. The rain just kept coming, and eventually they safety carred it. So you had the safety car
you
going.
had some people spinning out. You had
Correct.
Pinto first, right?
Right. So when it was raining really hard, the safety car came out, and then Calapinto spun, wrecked.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure exactly if it was a mixture of both the weather conditions and something in his car, but yeah, he spun, which led to the red flag, which meant, guess what? Ocon and Verstappen now have a free pit stop.
Yeah.
And they're in the lead, so they don't even lose their position.
That's right.
And, then you have Russell and Norris over here looking like dummies, and Norris being upset that Norris initially was, oh my gosh, like they're going to have a free pit stop. And then Russell was really, aggravated that he wanted to stay out, knowing that the weather condition was kind of getting that bad that eventually would get red flagged anyway. So anyway, on the restart, Ocon keeps it, and Verstappen, he has a really good restart.
Yeah.
And you have Ocon, Verstappen, and that's pretty much the way the grid was going to be, because there wasn't going to be another pit stop unless there was another red flag. Nobody was going to change their tires.
Yeah.
And it was still rainy, but by the time the restart happened, the rain essentially had stopped, and they weren't expecting anything, I think, until like the last 5 minutes of the lap, of the race. So
was that so we have that red flag. We get another red flag later, but I don't remember which one was this restart, because one of these restarts.
The first one was
Calapinto.
Yeah, the first one was Calapinto, and then it was Sainz.
Okay.
Later down the road.
Yeah, and that wasn't too much later down the road.
Correct. And that one wasn't that bad. And that was the second restart where then Ocon actually loses the position. But I think he kind of maybe delayed getting going fast, because he really stayed out to like the straight, which didn't make sense to me. To me, it was like, well, why don't you go fast as you're like going through like the turns, right? And he kind of waited to the straight, and then Max just out of nowhere takes the inside line and takes it away from him, which is kind of a shame for Alpine. I think that would have been a really nice story. And if there's anybody that's kind of predicted their incremental and kind of have talked about it, it's been us.
Yeah.
We've seen it from like the first couple of races onward that they've just been like eking out like a place here and there, from absolute garbage to like the points. And today they finally, with the grace of like the Senna gods or whatever, that like that
Senna,
brought the rain,
the Senna blessings,
Senna blessings, right? Yeah, that they got some rain and their car was just set up for it. So, and they didn't make too many mistakes,
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the only, like, if you want to call it a mistake that was made, and it wasn't really that bad of a mistake. It just Max Verstappen was able to take advantage, and he was able to be just a little bit more aggressive and feel comfortable doing that and taking that inside line.
Yeah,
and on that same turn, when Max does that, Norris kind of loses it a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Goes outside, so he drops. I think he was in third at that time. Yeah, maybe fourth.
He loses it to Russell.
Yeah, and he loses and goes back to seventh.
Yeah,
and so at that point, like his race is,
that's done
pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much. But there's always hope whenever it's that rainy.
Yeah,
that slick.
People
you
were
never
like,
know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but it kind of dried out. Like you were expecting
it. Was drying out. Yeah, more and more. Yeah, as the race went on. But as the race went on, Verstappen just kept getting faster and faster and kept putting up fastest lap time.
16, 17 fastest laps. Unnecessary. I think he was just proving a point. He was showing people, I think, hey, I haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Norris, eat this sort of thing.
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm still the best.
Yeah.
And here's what's going to happen. I think he ends up winning by 19 seconds.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And like, he didn't take the lead until lap 42.
Yeah.
So, so he's got basically like 25, 30 laps, basically a little under 30 laps, 28 laps to go. And he puts that much time into it on a wet track. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, the two highest margins of the year, I think, have been Verstappen's won by over 20 seconds at the beginning of the year. And then Norris, I think he won by like 27. He could have been over 30 if he had pushed it.
Yeah.
I think he backed off, but I think it was Singapore. But it was impressive.
It was
very impressive. And he was pumped.
Good for him.
He won today. The first time that he's won in like, 10 races?
Yeah.
A Grand Prix?
Yeah.
He's won.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So I was
wow.
pretty excited. And then Alpine comes in.
Good
so we got
them.
Ocon. So the whole time that all this is going on, Verstappen and Ocon, pretty much from that turn or that pass on, it's, first and second, unless something crazy happens, it's going to be set. But from that point on, Gasly is not in a huge fight, but a little bit of a fight to make sure that he keeps his spot. He's got to fend off Russell from taking over.
Right.
And he does.
Yeah.
And they end up coming in, taking, second
and third
on the podium. Awesome for them.
Yeah.
They moved up 3 spots in the Constructors' Championship from 9th to 6th. I don't know if this is valid, but I think it's pretty valid. One of the announcers said it was like a $30 million difference today that they made because they moved up that far.
That's
the
amazing.
Point total. How would you guys love to have a $30 million payday?
That's awesome.
Freaking awesome, man.
For one day. 1 day's worth of work.
Yeah. It could happen.
They did it. Hey, they did it out of nowhere. So
yeah, that was pretty awesome.
We'll see if they can keep that momentum going into like Vegas and stuff. But yeah, good for them.
There was a lot of other weird stuff that happened today as well, like Hulkenberg
getting flagged.
Yeah. And because he gets like beached on this little. He's still like on the a tarmac of sorts.
It's a banking.
Yeah.
The old school banking. And he's kind of stuck because the cars are so long that he's kind of like
I can't tell if the wheels are on or off.
Yeah, they were off. They were off. Like the front wheels were off the ground.
So it's one of those situations where if I was in the car, I would have been like trying to rock the car back and forth to get it to go. Well, so some of the track people come out. I guess he called them out because he realized, hey, I couldn't get this off. But he had people come out and push him off of it, and then he was able to drive on. But of course, you
can't do that.
No assistance.
No assistance. Yeah. So he kept going. I'm surprised. He kept going, pitted, and came out again. And it wasn't until I think the
Until
red
it was
flag
official
that he ended
identified.
until the red
Yeah.
flag that they ended up saying like, hey, actually, you're
Yeah.
flagged. You're not supposed to be racing.
That was so weird. Like you would think that they would see that right away and do that. And
I
let
think
them know.
I think it was just the camera angle because once they the replays showed him, they showed him once he was already once he had already been pushed.
Yeah.
So I'm sure somebody said, hey, like they've actually helped him out because obviously the stewards can have eyes all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like somebody must have said something and they're like, oh no, that you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Strange, but also interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have that. Yeah. I mean, who else? There were some other.
Perez spun out in
Yeah.
the first lap and then got in a fight with Liam Lawson again.
Yeah.
And lost.
Lost. Yeah.
He
lost.
lost and-
Bumped wheels, didn't he, at some
Yeah.
point?
Yeah, they bumped wheels.
And then
like
like
lost to
Hamilton
Hamilton.
passes him.
Yeah.
So he bumps wheels and then he backs off. So he's in 10th and then he kind of loses a little more and Hamilton passes him there.
Right.
So
And
Perez
that's where
is
they
not
stay.
able. Yeah,
Yeah.
they stay in those positions the rest of the race, which I'm like, man,
Yeah.
Lawson, like
Lawson, I don't think he gets the bigger picture that like the sister team, the A team has to like make points in this championship to win. And it's just like he's just driving for himself, which is makes sense because obviously he wants to secure his drive for next year.
I guess if they were really concerned about it, they'd tell him not to do that.
Yeah,
But
I mean he didn't race Verstappen that hard.
no, he let
Yeah.
Verstappen kind of pass right away.
Yeah.
It was early in the race, but so I don't know.
Yeah.
I
But
guess-
considering where let's just talk Lawson, right? Considering where he started and where he ended, which was what 8th.
Yeah, he started 5th.
Started 5th.
Ended
Like
8th.
you're going backwards. You probably shouldn't. Yuki ended up what 6th, I think.
Yeah, he ended up 6th.
Starting 3rd. Yeah, I guess they both went back 3 places. But
Yeah.
anyway, not probably not the best drive for them. And also, he had gotten in a little scuffle with Piastri at one point, and Piastri got a big. And
Yeah,
what
he
was
had
up
a
with the
penalty with that.
penalties? The penalties were 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like for 2 of them, Piastri, and then for I don't know if it was I forgot who the other one was at the beginning of the race, but he had just tapped.
Penalty on Behrman.
Behrman.
He tapped. He ran into the back of
Just barely.
of Calapinto's car.
Just barely.
Barely. Yeah. Just barely. That's how he does things. Yeah. He also tapped the wall later. Spun out and just barely tapped it with his front wing. I don't know if he did. I mean, it was enough to where it probably didn't do damage.
He had a very bad day.
Very bad. Yes. Yes. Tune in next week for more puns. No, but yeah. So yeah. There was.
It was an interesting race.
It was an interesting race because you never know, like with that much water, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
And but you know that there's a potential for something to happen because a lot of these races, it's like there's some times in the race where people will pass, but other than that, like, you know, once they get going, you kind of have a feeling, this is kind of how it's going to be.
Yeah.
This, it's like somebody could mess up at any time.
Anytime. High anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think the Sainz crash is what showed it because, you know, he was approaching Perez and all you see is goes across the screen and it's like, dude, that was for everybody. At any point, it was just like somebody's going to spin out, like just watching. And then I love it when they do, and then all of a sudden you see in the corner of the screen, it's like their name just goes pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
So you know anybody in the front, there's no guarantee anybody could be way back, starting going back to like whatever 16 or whatever, because there's so many people that were out. But it was exciting, high anxiety, kind of exactly what you expect from Brazil, just like last year.
Yeah.
But like worse. In a good way. In a good way.
There was a lot of excitement stuff going on.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah. So next, what is it? 20 days, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's
it's about-
not next weekend, but I think the weekend after. So
2 weeks.
2 weeks
2 weeks.
should be.
Yeah. I think 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the next race is going to be here.
The USA GP.
Yes, back in the USA.
Back in the US. It doesn't make sense to me.
That
It
they
doesn't
would
make
come back
sense
at this
It
point?
doesn't make sense how they do it. Just the logistics of it all.
Oh,
That
is
I
true.
guess it makes sense. You
well,
obviously
they
want
do
to
have
keep
DHL
some.
running their logistics.
Yeah,
mean,
I know.
I'm just saying.
I know.
But no, but I mean, from a race standpoint, I mean, you're going to Las Vegas, so you do want to have it like in a time that's going to be a little bit cooler,
Right.
You know, versus running because it is going to be a night race.
Yeah.
It's all, yeah. But
Yeah, I can't imagine it's gonna be that much cooler, but
I don't
you
know.
know, from so like, let's just say from like the Austin GP, which was like a week ago, no, 2 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago
yeah.
to Mexico to coming back like a week and a half or like 2 weeks later, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, last time it was really cool. We had that stuff with signs happening, you know, with the track. So
With a manhole.
with a manhole, exactly. So
Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
yeah. So we'll see what happens this go around, but
I wonder if it's
hopefully
gonna be
they were
fresh
fine.
tarmac too, because last time it was, but it was the first time that they're having it there.
Right.
And also, like they had it was right after they put the sphere in, so you got all that going on, and then like the F1 Village that's down there.
Yeah.
I want to say that was like a permanent install that they did.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. So we'll see. We'll have more fun facts for Vegas.
Yes.
Apparently, actually, the sphere is like way in debt.
Really?
Like billions of dollars.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
mean,
it's
unless it was
relatively new.
expected and they're like paying it off.
Yeah.
But if that's
Yeah, I
that's
think
not that bad. But
the
if it's
financial
like, oh my
backers are like,
gosh.
oh my God, yeah, like it's just way over.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, it's supposed to be pretty cool. Like I know some people that have gone and seen concerts there and they've really enjoyed it, but they almost enjoy like the visual aspect of it more than the concert itself. I had know somebody that went and saw the Eagles that were there. And they loved like all the visual stuff, but like if you have inner ear problems, then you may not like it very much from what I hear, because it's like the seats move, they do all sorts of stuff, so it's very an immersive experience.
That's
there.
really cool. Yeah.
But yeah,
Anyway, so we'll be in Vegas. In a
nice.
couple, well, we
yeah,
won't
so
be,
we,
but
you never know, man. You never know what's going to happen in the future.
F1 invite us.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so we've got Vegas, and then we've got Bahrain,
Yeah.
and then Abu Dhabi.
Go back to the Middle East. So
Yeah,
it'll
so-
be a good time.
Yeah, yeah. So Bahrain, I mean, last year it was like 2 billion degrees, and all the drivers were super sick.
Yeah.
you know, getting in and out, and
Yeah.
then Abu Dhabi at the end. So this is going to be close. Like we've got the Drivers' Construction Championship going on, where Ferrari and McLaren are really fighting it out.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting. I don't think Red Bull is. I mean, they're in third, but I don't think that there's a chance they could come in second. I don't think that they'll get first.
Yeah.
They'd
don't
have to have
think
a
so.
major swing
Yeah.
in the next 3 races.
They would need some 1-2s, and
Yeah.
Perez, I don't think, is there.
Yeah.
So
And after this race with Verstappen, he put on 26 points today.
yeah.
So he doesn't have it mathematically wrapped up, but it's going to be really, really hard for Norris to beat him now with only 3 races left.
Right.
It could happen.
This was a
Just
race
saying.
for him. I mean, this would have been a game changer today.
It's had to have been kind of demoralizing. Like Verstappen's like perfect,
He was perfect.
you know.
He was perfect. I think people are going to talk about this one for a while.
Yeah, I think this is one that's like if you want to see a master class in driving
In the rain.
you gotta go back and watch this. I mean, especially at least the first like 10, 15 laps.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
For sure.
Yeah.
What are your predictions?
My predictions for the next race. I think Ferrari and McLaren. I mean, McLaren still looks really good. This weekend they didn't look the best, but they'll look better on the street race. I mean, I think that they're going to be the team to beat. Norris. Yeah, I think Norris is going to be up there on the podium.
So 1,
And
2, 3.
Leclerc. Norris, Leclerc, and I want to say Sainz. I really would hope that Verstappen would be up there.
Interesting.
I don't know if
It
he's
is
gonna
a high
be-
speed circuit. They have those
Yeah.
really long straights. So
Yeah, I don't think Verstappen. Will
I think it's going to be Norris, Verstappen, Sainz.
that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a fun race to see.
All right, cool. Well,
I say that very nonchalantly. That'd be a really fun race to see, Daniel.
Yeah. Yes, it would. All right, Craig. Well, it was good to catch up and do this again.
It was good times.
So
Yeah.
thanks, Craig.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
And everybody else, do what you do.
Like, subscribe. Nice comments.
Yes.
Share with your friends.
On your preferred platform.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. That'd be great.
And that's it for now.
It's good times.
Thanks, Craig.
Yes. In Brazil.
Yeah.
Talking about Brazil and F1 racing and all that implies.
See you, everybody.
Adios.